Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the GD Friggin' Movie Show, Volume 5? 4?
I think this is 5.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
5 of these are.
As usual, I'm GD Marcus,
And I'm Miguel, the GD movie amigo.
He's the amigo.
Yes.
Mi amigo.
Si.
De película.
Correct.
Did you understand that one?
A pelican?
Yes! He's a pelican friend. Okay, so
Next week I'll learn película is
tons
movies.
of exciting shows coming out this weekend, starting with...
Being the Ricardos.
Lucy!
Lucy, you've got some explaining to do.
Lucy and Ricky.
Did you watch I Love Lucy as a kid?
I did.
Growing
I did.
up?
And I didn't...
First run or reruns?
No, reruns.
You're not that
I'm
old.
not that old. Yeah, but I watched the black and whites, and then there was the Lucy show that actually came out in the 70s, starring just Lucy, and it had her daughter, Lucy Jr. or whatever.
Lucy Jr.
But
I did not watch that.
I love Lucy. First of all, it's because my grandparents watched it, and I was like 5, so what do you do? But
It was a great sitcom.
yeah, and one of the parts to this movie that was kind of really interesting to me was Lucy got pregnant, I guess the second year of production, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it because everybody was
Right.
like, we can't talk about pregnancy because that means sex happened and sex doesn't exist.
Yeah, you have to sleep in separate beds, so the audience is going to wonder, how did she ever get pregnant? And it'd be scandalous.
Yeah. How did that happen? I don't know.
They said, we're going to hide you behind stuff. And she said, no, I'm going to be pregnant on the show. The character's going to be pregnant.
Because people get pregnant and have babies in real life.
And it's amazing that this was such a scandal at the time.
See, I do believe that scandal.
But that's not even the big scandal of the movie. The movie's about 1 week in the life of Lucy and Desi, and several things happen in that week. So one big thing that happens is she is accused of being a communist during the McCarthy communism witch hunts.
A commie.
Lucy is a commie. This is a problem.
Red Lucy. And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's still a big deal because
it's come back.
It's a scary word, communism. Oh, no, we don't know what it is. We just know Russia does it, and it scares us.
Well, I'm a socialist. I don't care.
I'm a democratic socialist, like
okay.
Bernie, me and Bernie.
I'm a full-on commie.
But see, people don't know what communism versus socialism versus fascism. They think it's all the same thing. Fascism is
anybody I don't like is one of those.
Is a completely different thing.
But if you know about the communist witch hunts of the 1950s, the McCarthy trials, they would blacklist people they believed to be commies, and that would ruin your career or your life. Like, if you want to see another movie about that, check out Trumbo.
Trumbo's a good one. Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. He plays Dalton Trumbo.
And it's funny, too. There's a lot of funny parts.
Yeah. So that's happening, and there's also a concern that Desi may be cheating on Lucy, because there's a story in the paper of him with another woman.
And I'm sure he was, constantly.
Of course.
I mean, think about it. It was the 50s. He was a TV star and a rock star, and he was married to Lucy.
Yeah, of course. So...
Of course he was.
They could have made this story about the history of their careers or the show. They decided to make it about this 1 week, but interspersed, there's some flashbacks showing us how everything came about, how she became a sitcom star, how the TV show came about.
How they met.
It's pretty good.
And started dating or whatever.
My favorite stuff, though, is the TV show. All the stuff on the set, seeing them sitting around the table, doing the table read, and then blocking and rehearsing on the sets. Because I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up on sitcoms. I just love all that, seeing how sitcoms are made. Have you ever been to a studio and seen?
I have. I've seen Who is the Boss? And
Did you see them? Were you in the audience when they filmed it?
Yeah, and then what was the one with Kirk Cameron back in the day?
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains. I saw that one too.
Kirk Cameron has since found Jesus.
And I know, and I was in the audience for The Price is Right a couple of times.
I was on Price is Right once.
And did you do The Price is Right?
No, I was in the audience.
I was on Press Your Luck. Big bucks, no whammy, stop!
All right, I'm going to go on YouTube and find that.
It's actually on my YouTube channel.
But it's so fascinating to see how they do it. Because you watch on TV.
I didn't get anything.
You didn't get anything? I'm sorry. But to see how they do it, to see the sets, see how they make use of the space, and it's amazing. So I love seeing that stuff. And the casting, I mean, Nicole Kidman is Lucy, and Javier Bardem is Desi. They're good. I don't know if they're who I would pick.
No.
But I like them. They
did a
good
decent job, yeah.
But J.K. Simmons.
Fred and Ethel steal the show, especially J.K. Simmons as Fred.
I love their interactions just from the very beginning. When she's talking to Fred at the table reading, he's like, is she talking to me? Can she see me? She know I'm here? He just hates her so much.
J.K. is the best. See it for J.K.
Oh, man. I want to go back and just watch his scenes. Like, I want that movie. I want just them or the four of them, just seeing how they hated each other.
From the Mertzes. What was
Yeah.
his name? William Randolph, or I can't remember his name. They kept calling him Bill, and then she's Vivian Vance, Ethel. But they did kind of talked about some of the stuff that I'd always heard is that Lucy, of course, like any star, has a frail
She's
ego.
very vain. Yeah.
So Ethel had to be, like 15 pounds heavier than Lucy, I think it was. Could never upstage her as far as costumes.
Yeah, Lucy had to make sure she was the star in every way.
She had this great line, the woman who was playing Vivian Vance. I had to marry my grandpa to be on this show, and he looks at me like I'm not good enough for him anyway. And so I'm sure that was a beating.
Oh, yeah. You feel bad for her. But, oh, man, J.K. Simmons is great in everything, and he's hilarious in this. But the backstory, I didn't care as much about. It was interesting. I could have used less of that.
Yeah.
But what I did really like is a scene where we see Lucy meeting with the TV executives when they're putting the show together. And she says, Desi Arnaz is going to play my husband. And they said, no, we need an American. And she says, well, he's an American. Well, we need someone who's not Spanish. He's never been to Spain in his life. I know what you mean. And that was a great scene.
He's brown.
Yeah, he doesn't look like us.
So that
was great.
And I have thought about that, for years, that really was groundbreaking to have a male lead that was brown and married to a white woman, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And we also learned she wasn't a natural redhead. They dyed her hair red just as a career thing.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
So when I watched the show, because they were, or at least the being the Ricardos, they were, fighting communism and adulteryism and having a baby. But when little Ricky got a little bit older, he played the drums on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved that, being about his age and wanting to play a drum. So I just thought little Ricky was the coolest because he had a drum kit.
Too bad they didn't put that in the show. We do get to see Ricky play the babaloo.
We do.
Or Desi.
Ricky or Desi. So, yeah, if you're a fan of old TV or that kind of stuff, it's a decent movie for anybody, but obviously if you love Lucy.
Yeah, and it's an Aaron Sorkin movie, but surprisingly the dialogue was not as fun as Aaron Sorkin's dialogue usually is. His is very witty, The Social Network, A Few Good Men, West Wing. Usually characters have really fun monologues, and there weren't as many in this. But
I get the feeling, though, that Lucy being as wacky as we all perceive her to be, they probably tried to steer us away from that on purpose.
Probably. And you know what else didn't work? There were scenes, every now and then you would get these talking head interviews with characters from the movie years later, talking to the camera like documentary style.
Oh, right.
It felt kind of out of place. It was kind of weird.
Because they're actors that we knew.
Yeah. And you're like, who are those people? In fact...
I'm like, because you're at the beginning you said it's Ronnie Cox. I'm like, why is Ronnie Cox in this movie? He was on I Love Lucy. But he was playing one of the executive producers or one of the writers or something,
See, I had to look up who they were because they didn't do a great job telling you who was who. One of them was Tony Hale. One of them was the writer, Elia Shawkat. Her as an older woman. And then, I can't remember who the third one was.
Anyway, so the other movie I saw this week was a fairly new movie on Netflix. Was Bruised. Have you seen Bruised?
I have not seen Bruised.
Starring Halle Berry, her directorial debut.
I've heard about that.
It's not very good.
No.
I don't really know what her point was.
She should stick to acting.
Other than she gets ripped, gets naked, and pretends to beat up people. I didn't get it. It wasn't very true to the UFC. It wasn't very well. It was just kind of seemed like a vanity project.
Was there much of a story there?
She's a has-been, but she's my age, and she's making a comeback. That's just not possible.
No.
I mean, the old people in UFC
Highly
are like
unlikely.
35,
She'd break a hip or something.
And, so it was kind of dumb. There's some decent action, but unless you're dying to see Halle Berry naked at 55. And even then, the nudie scenes they were all, it's all fast and you can't tell what's going on. So there's no payoff there either.
Well, if it's Netflix, you can just...
Cheater! You can pause. I see a nip. Pause it.
Freeze frame.
Yeah.
But what about, did you see another movie? Another indie type movie?
I did. I saw.
Come On.
Why? Yeah. Come
on. Let's talk about Come On.
Who's in Come On?
Joaquin Phoenix. Gabby Hoffman.
Gabby Hoffman, who I know fights that unibrow every day. Doesn't she just? She screams Frida Kahlo.
Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix, his first role since The Joker. Couldn't be more different.
Oh my gosh, he's pudgy. He's built kind of like we are right now.
Yeah.
He's got a beard. Mm-hmm. He's kind of
a little bit of a belly.
Grumpy old lonely man.
Yeah. So he's some kind of a reporter. He has his old-fashioned recording equipment, which is funny. He's using this long boom mic, and it's in this age, wouldn't you just have a phone and a Zoom or whatever you call it?
That's funny because I thought that very same thing as they were running around with these giant mics. And was it supposed to be set in like 95?
I don't think so. I think he's just an old-fashioned kind of guy.
Yeah.
But they're not too clear. But so it's him. He's filming. He'd go city to city.
No, because it's post-Katrina, so.
Yeah, so it's at least recent.
Anyway, yeah.
But he goes city to city interviewing kids, getting them to talk about
who have been through some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
Some sort of like Katrina kids and shooting kids and
Which is interesting. I don't know if they're actors or not. They seem like they weren't. They were very naturalistic, just talking about their fears and
they didn't really tell us what the point of that was.
No. Is it for a documentary? What's it going to be on?
Mm-mm.
But anyway, he's estranged from his sister. He talks to her on the anniversary of their mother's death.
With a unibrow girl.
Yeah. And she's got a 9-year-old kid who he's not very close to, but he's going to go see her. And he ends up watching the kid because she's got to go deal with her husband who's having a breakdown or something. Yeah. So it's basically about him and this kid bonding, and he takes him on a trip. They go to New York so he can watch him while he works. Because he's babysitting, and he's like, I got to go to New York and work, so I'm going to bring the kid with me.
Right. He doesn't really have an option because who's he going to leave the kid with? So they get stuck together.
But that's the story. That's it.
Of those guys getting along. And they get along, and at the end, they still get along.
Yeah, and the end. That's the movie. It's one of those movies that I couldn't believe it wasn't a Sundance movie. I think it was at a film festival, but I've seen so many movies at Sundance like that where it's like, okay, that's a good first effort. Let's see what you can do when you actually have a story.
Yeah. There were some nice moments. There were some touching scenes, but I just didn't. For the mass, it's for people who are big fans of unibrows and Joaquin Phoenix, because otherwise it doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it.
A lot of voiceover. A lot of sometimes there would be subtitles, which I think were his inner monologue. Sometimes it's what he's texting. Other times it's just these like the text. It's like, what is that? That must be what he's thinking. It's kind of weird, and a lot of overlapping. voiceover. You'll be seeing a scene. You'll hear voiceover from earlier, and it's it felt like a film school project or something.
Yeah, and it's black and white.
Mm-hmm. Black and white,
which didn't really bother me, but.
But, I would have thought it was someone's first movie, but it's written and directed by Mike Mills, who 10 years ago, he did a movie called Beginners with Christopher Plummer and Ewan McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
One of Christopher Plummer's last movies, so he's a talented filmmaker. I guess this is what he wanted to do, and I don't get it.
I didn't get it either.
So
there you go. There's your warning.
Yeah.
If you're a big fan, otherwise wait. I would wait for it to come out on HBO anyway.
Yeah. You know what else I saw?
You watched it at home.
I did.
So that you could get trashed in the middle of it.
So I could pause it and gear up my strength. Say, all right, let's go another half hour of this crap.
See, I watched it in the theater. I paid to go see it.
You were stuck there.
And it was in there, yeah. And I'll admit, I got my phone out more than thrice.
It's like me and Dune.
I was talking to somebody about maybe setting up like a jazz trio, and I'm like, oh, I need to.
I don't think I missed anything for the last 20 minutes.
It's bad. Yeah.
There's another movie out called Benedetta.
I don't know what that is.
Well, Benedetta is based on a true story, supposedly, about a girl in the Middle Ages. Her parents, she's very religious, so her parents take her to a convent because she wants to be in the convent, be a nun. And she talks to God all the time, and she pulls off a couple of minor miracles. So maybe she's really talking to him. And you flash forward 10, 15 years, she's in her 20s, and another girl shows up who's like this homeless girl. They take her in, and they start to have a little bit of an attraction. And let's just say it's directed by Paul Verhoeven, who did RoboCop, Total Recall, and Showgirls. So let's just say there's things get a little naughty. Because, in the convent...
In other words, she doesn't keep her vows once she meets this other girl.
Correct. And there's also...
How do you solve a problem like lesbia?
There's also a little problem with blasphemy, which in the Middle Ages, they didn't tolerate blasphemy very well, especially if it was from a woman. So there's a little bit of torture in there. There's some... So it's an interesting story, but it's... I don't know, a little twisted, a little controversial.
What's it on?
It's it's in theaters. I don't think it's on any streaming service yet. It's limited release.
Okay, got it.
But Paul Verhoeven his movies are always interesting, whether they're good or not. I mean, even Showgirls, as trashy as it is, it's worth watching.
It definitely is worth watching. And, I think I watched it like a couple years ago as a rewatch to see if it... And, and it's fun. Now it's fun. It's campy fun.
Yeah, it's camp.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate it. You kind of look forward to the bad, the swimming scene and all the other weird things. And I watched part of Starship Troopers today.
Starship Troopers, I
Starship
love.
Troopers.
That's a great.
And RoboCop is one of the movies that
RoboCop
made
holds
me.
up. Total Recall.
Yeah. But there are some the winter movies or the December movies finally start coming out this week. I think, don't they?
Oh, last time we were talking about December releases, I completely forgot Spider-Man. There's a new Spider-Man coming out this month.
Right, and that looks like it might be good. Except it's the multiverse crap, which I don't know.
It depends on how ridiculous it gets. Like, I like the concept of the multiverse, but if it gets too wacky, I don't know. But I am excited to see Alfred Molina back as Doc Ock.
But
I don't care how they work him in the story. He's awesome.
And they de-age him, of course, so it's weird.
It looks a little weird.
Yeah, so that, and then the teeny bop film with the Haim girl, Denise Haim, or whatever.
Oh yeah, Licorice Pizza.
Licorice Pizza. See, that is supposed to be the one we're gonna thrill us. So
we mentioned West Side Story.
When does West Side?
You know
Story
why?
come out?
You know why Spielberg remade West Side Story?
Because he could.
That, and it was his dad's favorite movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either until today. I found that out.
And his dad's probably dead.
So that makes sense.
So it doesn't really help.
I'm going to make my dad's favorite.
Oh, don't look up.
Oh, that's the
comes
Leonardo
out.
DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence movie.
That comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. I want to see that. There's a meteor that's going to hit the Earth and kill everyone, and they're trying to warn everybody.
Nobody takes him seriously, and everybody's just trying to figure out how to get news coverage out of it.
You saw Jennifer Lawrence on Kimmel or
Yeah,
Colbert?
oh yeah, on Colbert.
She was telling the stories about their COVID bubble. They had to share the same bathroom. Her, Leo, Meryl Streep. She told a great story where they've been calling Meryl Streep the goat because she's the goat. Mm-hmm. And at some point, Meryl Streep's like, yeah, just tell the old goat where to go. And she's like, you
don't know what goat means now, do you?
We're not calling you an old goat. We're saying you're the greatest of all time. And she's like, oh, okay then.
That was the best story ever.
That was great.
That was so cute. Meryl was like cool with it. She thought the kids were calling her an old goat, and she was like, yeah, whatever, because Meryl knows that she's the goat. She's like, say what you want. You'll never have as many Oscars as I do.
Yeah.
Call me whatever you want. You can call me the old hippo. I don't care.
I also like that Jennifer Lawrence isn't afraid to make fun of other people. She's making fun of Leo, talking the way he talks. Giving him so much crap. It's like, wow, most stars won't do that. They just kiss each other's ass.
I know, she does. She does seem very real. I like Jennifer Lawrence.
She doesn't have a whole lot of F's to give.
I liked her a little bit more even. And she's one of those girl next door hot kinds. Mm-hmm. She's not like Gal Gadot hot. Yeah. She's girl next door hot.
But she's funny.
Yeah. And I've just never been like, oh, J-Law is the awesomest. But she's like the coolest. I posted that I want to be your gay BFF because I don't want to date her. I just want to hang out with her and go shopping and, make fun of people with her.
I can see that.
I don't want to touch her thingies.
On that note.
Yeah, so that's it. Well, hopefully we'll have some more movies to talk about next week. We'll at least make sure we catch Looking Up, the Meteor movie this weekend.
Looking Up and West Side Story. And
was West Side here this week?
I believe it is here this week. Okay. So by next week we'll be able to talk about it.
We'll talk about both of those.
And I haven't seen the original. I'll see the new one. Maybe I'll see the old one after, but
I'll
be able to review it as someone who's never seen the original.
Like I said, let's go into this one. You're a virgin, and I've seen the old one, and we'll compare notes next week. And then,
I beg your pardon.
And then go watch and then the week after that, you can tell me what you thought of the old one versus the new one. Yeah. The old one was starring Russ Tamblyn and Rita Moreno, and Natalie Wood.
The new one is also starring Rita Moreno.
All right, she's like a Grandma Maria or something.
But not Natalie Wood.
No.
Unfortunately, she has passed.
What kind of wood doesn't float? All right, that's the GD Movie Show. Please like and or subscribe. Again, my name is GD Marcus.
And I'm Miguel, the Movie Migo.
Adios.